Hi, it's Chris Titley. We're live here at the Sports Strategy Summit at the Convention Centre in Brisbane just after lunch. I'm joined by Paul Merritt from Merritt Sports. Paul, most important question of the day, how was lunch?
Look, it was good to have a little break. Good spread put on and good networking. So happy days.
And you've been in the session this morning. What's the takeaway from the early sessions?
Oh yeah, look, it was good to hear a few different aspects on how to engage with. I'm in the athletes business. How to engage with them, how to engage with companies, and sometimes how to contact or make contact with people sort of out of that circle that you're currently in. Just to broaden what you do as a business. Yeah, no, speaking of your business, what's Merritt Sports? Obviously has your name in it. Tell us about it. Yeah, look, I'm a buyer's agent, for lack of a better description. But I'm in partnership with a guy called Matt Gillett, who played for the Broncos, Queensland and Australia. And with Matt and I, we want to help athletes build wealth through property whilst playing sport for life after sport. Fantastic. Few and far between or not? Is there a few firms out there that specialise in this area? But that's a really good niche area. Yeah, look, I don't want to talk about my competitors, but there are a couple of them. But yeah, look, I mean, you hear over time how guys and gals finish their careers and then what's next, or they sort of struggle to get it back into everyday life. So that's what we're here to do, try and help them out of that. That's brilliant, and this is the first time I've had an opportunity to talk about property prices in Brisbane. What's going on? Are we slowing? Are we not slowing? What's the feel? Yeah, look, it definitely prices got out of control, 100%. Whether they come back or not, I'm not sure about that, because at the end of the day, prices have been sort of set from land developers. Build prices are set. There may be some adjustments, sure. Prices drop. Maybe in the established market. I don't deal in the established market. I deal in house land packages, so I'm dealing in brand new builds, and I do that across Australia. There may be some adjustments, but I think it's... When an athlete moves interstate on a deal, maybe a 2-year deal or 3-year deal, what's the thinking through their head around potentially buying where they're moved, or do people rent for a bit and buy for a bit? I'd be keen to understand what happens when athletes move around. Yeah, look, there's two parts to that question. I have an association with a finance broker who understands, especially in the NRL contracts, and that applies probably to most contracts in the sporting environment, because they can be scaled up or scaled down, and obviously there's a lifespan, and so they do look at the average across the board. So there's guys that do specialise in that, and that's who I deal with, or help partner with what Matt and I are doing. With respect to moving into state, look, I deal all over Australia, so I'm following different markets. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy where you are, where you live, or where you're moving to. These days, the Australian population, a lot of them aren't really in that Australian dream anymore of buying and owning your own property. They're happy to rent because they want to live in New Farm or Newstead and have that coffee society lifestyle. But also, dare I say it, owning your own home is actually a liability because it's not earning you any income. And the athletes that you deal with, in terms of the age bracket, where are they? You mentioned maybe towards the end of their career, but early on is also good to set them up financially for an injury or a contract negotiation that doesn't go well, or the likes. Where do you play? Matt and I definitely talking with the education and welfare managers of different organisations like the Broncos and the Dolphins, and we've sat down with a few younger players who are still earning their stripes through those systems, and hopefully one day they'll sign train and trial up to being in the top 30 squads for those respective sports and teams. But at the same time, we're talking to guys that are in their 6th or 7th or 10th year, but if we can get in with those development guys, then because we're in it for the long term, we're not interested in them buying a property. We want them to build wealth. We want them to buy multiple properties so they've got something for afterlife, the legacy for their kids and their family, etc.
What asset classes do you deal in? Is it generally just houses, or do you look at townhouses, and do you look at apartments as well?
Yeah, I'm in the residential space, so yes, house and land, townhouses. I try and avoid apartments and units purely because there's obviously body corporates, and so we're obviously trying to find properties that will give both equity uplift in now or in the future, and certainly cash flow.
And Paul, what's the key to being a good buyer's agent?
Simple. I get around. I've been to all the states and territories that I deal in, which is around Australia. I've looked at all the land subdivisions that I deal with. I've met all my builders that I deal with. I'm pretty familiar with what they do and what the markets are.
And what's the key to a good growth area in Australia?
Look, I'm all about the numbers, so I look at things like vacancy rates, I look at population growth, I look at government or private spending. I'm looking at rental yields. I look at the numbers.
The numbers don't lie sometimes, do they? Hey, they never lie. And then when it comes to technology and AI and data and people getting access to house prices, etc., has that changed at all in terms of speed of things and the decisions getting made a bit quicker, maybe?
Yeah, look, I mean, everyone, if you talk about realestate.com, everyone jumps on realestate.com and they look at it for 2 hours and they become a property expert, right? Which is not always the case. And, I've been in the game for a while now, over 30 odd years, and so I have lived and breathed this for many, many hours, many, many days, months and years. So even with AI can maybe help speed up the process of knowing what's out there in the marketplace. Everything that I do is off market, so you'll never know what's I'm selling.
We're at the tail end of lunch. There's a bit of networking going on. What do you want to achieve today, being at the conference?
Oh, look, I just want to meet like-minded people, maybe in different businesses to mine, and how they handle their business and how they talk to customers and their competitors. So it's just a learning day for me, for sure.
And you sense like you follow the rugby league a little bit. I'm curious around who your tip is to win the NRL Premiership this year.
I've still got a lot of faith in the Bronx, mate.
Still there.
So I'm still hanging in there.
Mathematically can make the finals? I think we can. I don't think it's mathematically impossible.
No, I think they've got to keep winning, but yeah, look,
their
maybe
run might be
it's not
a late if they...
Yeah.
So no other tip?
Yeah. Look, I think the Dolphins are smokies. On their day, even though they've had a couple of blowouts this year, on their day they are an exceptional attacking football team.
I remember the Broncos game. That was a good, fierce game. They lost by a few points. The Warriors-Dolphins final could be interesting, potentially. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I don't want to see any Sydney teams in the final. Let's put it that way. There we go, Paul. Thanks so much for having a chat, and I'll let you go back to network.
Thanks, Sam.
Again.